The heavy, subsonic thrum of the obsidian spire's atmospheric recyclers was the only sound in the grand chamber of the Valkyrie Concordat, a noise that felt less like a machine and more like the respiration of a dying god. The air here was thick, pressurized to accommodate the high-gravity physiology of the Krazak high exarchs, tasting of ozone, recycled nitrogen, and the pheromonal scent of terror. In the center of the vast, amphitheater-like hall, a holographic projection dominated the darkness, a sphere of angry, bruised crimson light that cast long, distorted shadows against the vaulted basalt walls. It was Sector 09, the Blood Moon. For 10,000 cycles, it had been a dead zone, a celestial tomb marked on every star chart with the glyphs for forbidden and silence. But today, the silence had been broken. The hologram pulsed with jagged spikes of telemetry, data streams bleeding off the edge of the projection like digital wounds. The council was in session, but it was not a debate. It was a wake. High Exarch Vox sat upon his anti-gravity dais, his massive, chitinous bulk shifting uneasily. His compound eyes, capable of seeing into the ultraviolet spectrum, were fixed on the red sphere, his mandibles twitching in a rhythm of suppressed anxiety. He was a warlord of the Krazak, a species bred for conquest, yet the data scrolling before him made his primary heart stutter. Seismic seals are shattered, Vox rumbled, his voice a tectonic grinding that vibrated the floor plates beneath the gathered delegates. We are not looking at natural geological instability. The crust of the Blood Moon is not cracking, it is opening. The energy signatures radiating from the substrata are consistent with precursor-era fusion ignition. Someone has bypassed the blockade. Someone has landed on the forbidden surface. He gestured with a clawed hand, the movement sharp and aggressive. And they are not just scavengers. Scavengers pick at bones. These intruders are performing surgery. Surgery implies intent, countered Counselor Lissa of the Aumni, her ethereal form floating within a cylindrical containment field of polarized glass. Her telepathic voice projected directly into the minds of the assembly, cool and fluid, contrasting sharply with Vox's gravelly bass. It implies understanding. You speak of the humans, Exarch. We have watched them. They are a young species, volatile, short-lived. Their technology is a patchwork of scavenged physics and crude combustion. To suggest they understand the architecture of the forbidden warship is to suggest a microbe understands a hyperdrive. Lissa's bioluminescence flared a soft, skeptical blue. They are merely poking a sleeping predator. We must intercept them before they trigger the Spectre rush. If the ancient legends are true, if that ship wakes fully, it will not distinguish between the humans and us. It will consume this entire sector. The room erupted into a low murmur of agreement and dissent, a cacophony of alien languages filtered through universal translators. The Valkyrie scholars, with their rock-like skin and slow, deliberate movements, argued for observation, fearing that a military strike might accidentally detonate the ship's antimatter reserves. The Krazak generals demanded immediate orbital bombardment, advocating for the glassing of the moon to ensure the abomination remained buried. But beneath the political posturing lay a profound, unifying fear. The forbidden warship, the Ethelgard, as the fragmented archives named it, was not a vessel of war in the conventional sense. It was a relic of the Titan builders, the mythical progenitors who had vanished eons ago. The texts described the ship as a cosmic shear, a device that didn't just move through space but cut through causality itself. For a primitive race like humanity to be tinkering with its ignition sequence was an affront to the galactic order, a child playing with a loaded supernova. The decision is made, Vox roared, silencing the chamber with a slam of his fist that cracked the obsidian armrest of his throne. We will not wait for the humans to accidentally erase us from history. The Grand Fleet will mobilize. We will jump to Sector 09 and we will issue one ultimatum: cease operations and surrender or be vaporized along with the moon they defile. The High Exarch stood, his shadow stretching long and menacing across the hologram of the Blood Moon. If they have awakened the Spectre, then we must be the ones to put it back to sleep, permanently. The council dispersed in a flurry of activity, aides rushing to relay orders, but the heavy atmosphere remained. As Vox left the chamber, he looked back one last time at the red sphere. He did not fear battle. He feared what the humans might have found in the dark. He feared that the primitives were not awakening a ship, but a judgment. The journey to the Blood Moon was a procession of military might that would have brought any aught. Her star system to its knees. The Krazak dreadnoughts, massive spearheads of ablative armor and plasma lances, formed the vanguard, flanked by the sleek, silvery cruisers of the Aumni and the heavy carrier spires of the Valkyrie. They dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Blood Moon's gravity well, the fabric of space tearing open to vomit forth the armada. The view that greeted them was apocalyptic. The blood moon hung in the void, bathed in the sickly light of a dying red dwarf star. The moon's atmosphere was a churning storm of iron oxide dust and ionized gas, creating the illusion of a bleeding wound in the night sky. And there, rising from the equatorial ridge like a dark mountain range, was the forbidden warship. It was immense, a jagged obsidian construct that dwarfed the human vessels docked along its hull. The human ships looked like parasites, tiny and fragile against the ancient, blackened metal of the Titan craft. Sensors reporting active telemetry from the surface, the tactical officer on Vox's flagship, the Sovereign's Will, announced, his voice trembling slightly. "Hi, Exarch. The energy readings are impossible. The warship. It is singing." Vox stepped onto the command deck, the main view screen filling his vision. "Singing," he growled. "Explain." The officer tapped his console frantically. "Gravitational resonance. The ship's core is oscillating at a frequency that matches the fundamental vibration of the local space-time fabric. It's a carrier wave, and the humans, they are replying to it." Vox narrowed his eyes. "Hail them, demand their surrender." The communications grid crackled, the static of the magnetic storm interfering with the signal until a voice cut through. It was not the panicked scream of a primitive caught in a trap. It was calm, almost bored. "This is Captain Alara Vance of the Terran Engineering Corps vessel Hephaestus," the voice said, translated into the guttural clicks of the Krazak. "We see you, Krazak fleet. You're drifting a little close to the event horizon of the distortion field. I'd advise backing off about 10,000 clicks. We're in the middle of a calibration cycle, and if you fire those plasma lances, the feedback loop will likely turn your flagship into an expanding cloud of ionized gas." Vox stared at the audio visualizer, stunned by the sheer audacity. "You advise us," Vox bellowed back, his pride stinging. "You are trespassing on a forbidden world, human. You are tampering with a weapon that destroyed its creators. Power down your excavation equipment and prepare to be boarded. This is your only warning." There was a pause on the line, filled only by the hum of the cosmic static. Then the video feed stabilized, revealing the bridge of the human ship. It was utilitarian, cramped, wires hanging from the ceiling, analog screens flickering with green text. Captain Vance stood in the center, wiping grease from her hands with a rag. She looked exhausted, her eyes rimmed with red, her flight suit stained and worn. She did not look like a threat. She looked like a laborer at the end of a double shift. "We aren't tampering, High Exarch," Vance said, looking directly into the camera with a gaze that held a terrifying weight of intelligence. "And we aren't excavating, we're repairing. And as for your threats, look at your sensors, look at the hull of the Ethelgard. It's not reflecting your scans, it's absorbing them, it's hungry. You fire on us, you just feed the battery. So please, for the sake of your own crew, keep your finger off the trigger." Vox looked to his tactical officer, who nodded slowly, his face draining of color. "She speaks the truth, Exarch. The ancient ship has deployed a kinetic absorption field. Any energy directed at it will be converted to potential power for its drive. We cannot attack." Vox felt a cold chill settle in his stomach. These primitives had checkmated the most powerful fleet in the galaxy without firing a single shot. They understood the physics of the Titans better than the scholars of the Valkyrie. "Who are you?" Vox whispered, the question slipping out before he could stop it. "How do you know the language of the dead gods?" Vance's expression softened just a fraction. "We didn't come here to steal it, Exarch. We came because it called us. If you want to know why, come down, but leave the guns in orbit. The ship gets cranky when it smells weapons." The descent to the surface was a journey into the mouth of madness. The shuttle, carrying Vox, Lissa, and a select guard, rattled violently as it punched through the magnetic storms of the blood moon. Red dust scoured the viewports, obscuring the world in a haze of blood and iron. When they landed on the makeshift pad constructed by the humans, the scale of the Ethelgard became overwhelmingly apparent. It was a cathedral of war, a fortress that stretched for miles, its hull etched with glowing runes that pulsed with a heartbeat like rhythm. Humans who met them were not soldiers. They were engineers, clad in heavy exoskeletons, welding torches and diagnostic tablets in hand. They moved with a purpose that ignored the terrifying alien warlords walking among them. They were focused entirely on the ship. Captain Vance led them through an airlock that hissed with the scent of ancient, stale air into the belly of the beast. The interior was vast, the corridors vaulted and dark, lit only by the passing lights of human drones. "The Spectre Rush," Vance said as they walked, her voice echoing in the gloom. "That's what your legends call the drive system. You think it's a weapon, a ghost maker." She stopped before a massive blast door, typing a complex sequence into a keypad that had been jury-rigged to interface with the alien locking mechanism. It's not a weapon, it's a displacement engine. It doesn't move the ship through space. It moves space around the ship. It requires a level of neural synchronization that breaks most minds. That's why you think it kills the crew. It doesn't kill them, it integrates them. The doors groaned open, revealing the command cicatrix, a spherical room where the walls were composed of flowing data streams, a river of light that depicted star charts from millions of years ago. In the center, a team of humans sat in chairs arranged in a circle, cables running from their skulls into a central pedestal. They were in a trance, their eyes rapid-fire moving behind closed lids. "What is this?" Lissa asked, her telepathic voice trembling with horror. "You are enslaving your own kind to the machine?" Vance shook her head. "No, they are the pilots, the consensus. They are talking to the ship's AI, convincing it to wake up, and they're terrified." "Terrified of what?" Vok asked, stepping closer to the pedestal. "Of us." "No," Vance said, turning to face him. She tapped the console, and the star map on the walls shifted. The red light of the blood moon faded, replaced by a simulation of the galaxy. But the edges of the galaxy were being consumed by a dark, creeping rot. "The Void Eaters," Vance said. "Entropy swarms, your archives call them myths. The precursors called them the end. They are biological machines that live in the dark space between galaxies. They harvest organic matter to reproduce. The builders fought them for 1,000 years. They built the Ethelgard not to conquer, but to hold the line. They pushed the swarm back, but they knew they would return. So they buried these ships, sleeper agents, guardians set to wake up when they detected the specific gravitational resonance of a swarm vanguard." Vok stared at the simulation. The creeping rot was not a simulation of the past. It was a projection of the present. "You mean," he started, his voice failing him. "I mean the blood moon isn't a moon," Vance said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "It's an egg, a swarm cocoon. It's been incubating here for eons, gathering mass, waiting for the signal. The Ethelgard woke up because the egg is hatching. We didn't come here to loot the ship, Exarch. We came here to flush the toilet before this thing crawls out and eats the sector." The revelation hit the delegation like a physical blow. The ground beneath them shuddered, a violent, rhythmic thumping that was distinct from the mechanical hum of the ship. It was a heartbeat, a massive biological heartbeat from deep within the planetoid. "If you are correct," Lissa projected, panic flooding her mental tone, "then we are standing on a bomb that could destroy civilization. We must evacuate. We must glass the planet immediately." "It won't work," Vance said grimly. "The swarm entity is non-Newtonian. Kinetic energy just makes it harder. Energy weapons feed it. If you shoot it, you'll just crack the shell and let it out early. It will scatter into 1 billion spores and infect every system within 100 light years. We have to contain it. We have to remove it from the board entirely." "How?" Vok demanded. "You cannot kill something that feeds on energy." "We aren't going to kill it," Vance said, her eyes gleaming with a manic, calculated determination. "We're going to move it, the Spectre Rush, the displacement engine. We've rigged the Ethelgard to extend its field. We're going to wrap the entire moon in a displacement bubble and shunt it, not into hyperspace, into the accretion disk of the Sagittarius black hole. We're going to feed it to gravity itself. It's the only thing that can crush it faster than it can regenerate." Vok looked at the human, really looked at her for the first time. He saw the fragility of her flesh, the shortness of her lifespan, but in her mind, he saw the cold, hard logic of a titan. "To move a moon," he murmured, "the energy requirements. It will burn out the ship. It will burn out the pilots." "We know," Vance said softly. "The ship is a one-shot rifle. We fire it once and the barrel melts, but it buys the galaxy another 10,000 years. We're evacuating the non-essential crew to the Hephaestus. The consensus, and we have to stay to initiate the rush. The manual overrides are the only way to keep the field stable." "You are sacrificing yourself," Vok stated, a profound respect swelling in his chest. "In Krazak culture, there was no higher honor. Why? The Council has treated you as pariahs. We threaten to destroy you." "Because we're the gardeners," Vance said, a sad smile touching her lips. "The builders left us behind. We forgot for a long time, got lost in our own wars on Earth, but the genetic memory is there. We fix things. That's what humans do. We fix the things that break." The ship lurched violently. A scream of tearing metal and shifting rock echoed through the hull. "It's hatching," a technician shouted from the monitoring station. "Surface integrity is at 40%. The swarm tendrils are breaching the crust. We have massive biological signatures emerging at the poles." Vance spun around, her exhaustion vanishing, replaced by combat readiness. "Exarch, get your people to the shuttle. Get your fleet to safe distance. Minimum 1 light minute. When we pull the trigger, space is going to turn inside out. Go. Vok hesitated only a second. He placed a fist over his hearts in the salute of the High Guard. The Krazak will remember this, Alara Vance. We will sing your name in the Hall of Heroes. He turned and ran, the delegation scrambling after him. The shuttle launch was a desperate clawing against gravity, the viewports revealing a nightmare. The blood moon was shedding its skin. Great shards of rock, miles wide, were falling away, revealing a pulsating, wet blackness beneath. Tentacles the size of cities whipped into the void, grasping at the stars, searching for biomass. The swarm was awake, and it was hideous beyond comprehension. As the shuttle docked with the Sovereign's will and the fleet engaged emergency reverse thrusters, Vok watched the main screen. The Ethelgard was glowing now, not with the red of the moon, but with a blinding, violet-white light that seemed to cut through the visual spectrum and hurt the mind. The Spectre Rush. The ancient ship was drawing energy from the future, borrowing potential reality to rewrite the present. The light expanded, forming a geometric lattice around the hatching moon. The swarm entity thrashed, its tentacles recoiling as they touched the cage of time light, burning not from heat but from rapid aging. They are initiating the jump, the tactical officer whispered, awe and horror in his voice. The gravitational shear is infinite, sensors are blinding. On the bridge of the Ethelgard, Vance screamed as the neural feedback hit her. She was plugged directly into the command chair, her mind fused with the dying scream of the ship's AI and the collective will of the consensus. She felt the weight of the moon. She felt the hunger of the swarm, and she pushed. She pushed with the stubborn, illogical defiance that defined her species. Not today, she thought, not on my watch. The space around the blood moon twisted. It was as if a giant hand had reached down and pinched the fabric of the universe. The stars bent, light spiraled inward, and then with a sound that was not heard but felt in the marrow of every living being in the system, the moon vanished. It didn't explode. It didn't crumble. It simply ceased to be there. The space snapped back with a violent elastic recoil, sending a shockwave of gravitational radiation rippling outward, tossing the massive Krazak dreadnoughts like toys in a bathtub. Silence returned to the void. The red sun shone on nothing. The blood moon was gone. The Ethelgard was gone. Report, Vok croaked, pulling himself up from the deck where the shockwave had thrown him. Did they? Target is gone, Exarch, the sensor officer said, his voice shaking. Telemetry confirms a massive mass displacement to the Sagittarius core. They did it. They fed the monster to the dark. Vok slumped back into his throne. They were gone. The brave, foolish, brilliant humans had erased themselves to save a galaxy that despised them. He felt a deep, hollow grief. But then a proximity alarm chirped. A weak, static-filled signal drifted through the interference. Unknown vessel, emerging from the wake. A small, battered shape tumbled out of the residual distortion field. It was spinning, leaking atmosphere, its engines dead. It was the Hephaestus. Hail them, Vok shouted, hope surging in his chest. Put it on audio. This is Hephaestus. The voice was weak, barely a whisper. It was Vance. We detached the command module, rode the wake. Ethelgard is lost, but we are here. A cheer went up on the bridge of the Sovereign's will, a roar of triumph that defied military protocol. Krazak, Valmarie, Aumni, they all cheered for the small, broken ship drifting in the dark. Vok keyed the comms. Captain Vance, this is Vok. We have you. We are sending towing B. Eames, do not worry about your engines. The Grand Fleet will carry you home. The political fallout was immediate and absolute. The revelation of the swarm and the footage of the blood moon hatching shattered the complacency of the Galactic Council. Humanity was no longer the primitive upstart. They were the shield bearers. They were the ones who knew how to operate the fire extinguishers in a burning building. The Valmarie Concordat offered immediate alliance. The Aumni shared their neural archives. But the true shift happened in the weeks that followed, as the analysis of the Ethelgard's data logs was completed. Vance, recovering in a biotank in the medical wing of the Obsidian Spire, was visited by Vok and the High Council. They stood around her tank, humble and silent. When she was released, she walked with a limp, using a cane made of the same obsidian as the spire, a gift from the Exarch. She led them to a private briefing room and projected a new hologram. It was a DNA helix. We found something else in the ship's memory, Vance said, her voice stronger now, though scarred by the ordeal. The swarm wasn't an alien invasion, it was a bioweapon, created by the precursors during a civil war. She gestured to the helix. This is the precursor genome, and this, she overlaid another helix, is the Krazak genome and the Valmarie and the human. The helices aligned perfectly. "We are not different species," Vance said, dropping the truth that would change the galaxy forever. "We are all devolved remnants of the Titan builders. We adapted to different worlds, changed over millions of years, but the root code is the same. The swarm is our own creation, a weapon left over from a war we forgot we fought. It attacks us because it recognizes our genetic markers. It's trying to finish the job." Vok looked at his hands, then at the human woman. The hatred, the xenophobia, the wars between their people. It was all a family feud. A civil war that had lasted so long everyone forgot they were related. "So the Ethelgard accepted you?" Vok mused. "Not because you are human, but because you remembered." "Because we have the maintenance codes," Vance corrected with a grin. "But yes, we are family exarch, dysfunctional, violent, messy family, but family." She zoomed out the map, showing the galaxy. Hundreds of red dots appeared. "The blood moon was just one egg. There are thousands. The Ethelgard waking up triggered a network ping. The other ships, the other forbidden warships, are waking up. They are calling for their crews." Vance leaned forward, her eyes burning with a new fire. "The swarm is coming, Vok, the real invasion, but this time the Titans aren't dead. We are the Titans, and we have a fleet to catch." Vok stood tall, his four arms expanding in a gesture of unity. "Then let us go, cousin," he said, the word tasting strange but right on his tongue. "The Krazak are ready to reclaim our inheritance." The alliance that formed that day was not one of convenience, but of destiny. The forbidden zones were opened. Mixed crews of humans, Krazak and Almni, began to board the ancient dreadnoughts, learning to synchronize their minds, learning to pilot the Spectre Rush. The galaxy had been a quiet, fearful place, hiding in the dark. Now the lights were turning on. The warships were awakening. And as the combined fleets moved out to meet the encroaching dark, led by the small, scarred captain of the Hephaestus and the mighty High Exarch, the universe held its breath. The Titans had returned, and they were ready for war.